Humans desire to become greater. If we were to become greater, it is inevitable that we fail time and time again. This is definitely the case in Tilly Olsen's Yanandio, which follows 6-year-old Maisie Halbrook as she grows up within a normal working class family. When reading about Maisie and her family, it is best to consider Paul Loiter's modern lens and Leon Trotsky's proletarian lens. The reader who uses the modern lens will ultimately notice the disruption in syntax of several passages, which lures them into the proletarian themes. Thus, the modern lens lures readers into the proletarian themes who will inevitably notice Maisie's struggle as daughter of the working class family of the novel to demonstrate that trying to climb out of the working class ironically places more strain on the family. In order to unravel Yanandio, we must first understand the foundation of modernism. Common writing techniques of modernism include willingness to disrupt the traditional syntax and form to mix together modes or levels of writing, using irony to penetrate all pious beliefs. Although many themes of Yanandio are in the spectrum of realism, some modernist themes are included as well, such as other characters' self-consciousness about questions of form and structure became uppermost, and the struggle for freer expression. On the other hand, the New Masses, a communist newspaper with a strong underlying focus of the working class, defines proletarian literature to have the courage of a proletarian experience, this proletarian experience being the life and drama of the average working class worker. We would imagine these two genres could never coincide with each other, but Trotsky is actually open to modern literature, especially when it is adapted to the purpose of a working class literature. As a result, readers are able to see through both realism and modernism through one combined lens. The modern lens, which Mike Gold describes as verbal acrobatics, attracts the readers to passages with themes of proletarian realism. The reader who keeps this in mind has their attentions immediately drawn to the whistle and the subsequent emotions it draws out of Maisie. The modernist element comes in the form of a simile, which pierced into her sleep like some guttural voiced beast. The simile, which experiments with language, eloquently prolongs Maisie's emotions to reveal that she is haunted by the whistle. The whistle is which is revealed to be connected to the mind and its workers, thus the proletarian theme of the working class. When the whistle blew, she knew it meant death. Somebody's papa or brother, perhaps her own in that fearsome place below the ground, the mine. The hyphen, an example of disruptive syntax and hence modernism, dramatically introduces the possibility of death in the working class, revealing its proletarian literature. By reading with the two lenses, readers will notice Olsen describes mine workers with respect to the working class to reveal that the neglected working conditions of the mine directly scar both workers and their respective families. Hence, Olsen demonstrates that any negative attitudes we carry from work are released in the home environment. After Olsen describes Maisie's interactions with the whistle, she develops Maisie's character by means of monologue. This monologue reflects the modern theme of self-consciousness, while retaining the straight-to-the-point syntax of proletarian beliefs, which will scorn any vague, fumbling poetry. "I am Maisie Holbrook," she says to herself, clearly and direct. She then lists that she can diaper a baby, tell ghost stories, know words and words. We know a little more about Maisie, and the reader loves her because somehow she is innocent as a child, but aware for her age. We love the way she thinks. Things come a blow in my hair, and it is soft like the baby laughing. But with closer inspection, diapering babies and telling stories are skills generally associated with parents. But the fact that Maisie has to mention that she knows words and words indicates that she has to grow up faster than she really is. Yes, these skills can be associated with older siblings, but the fact that Maisie is a female means at a young age she is already taking her first steps in her predetermined fate that is motherhood. And we know Olsen hates this because we as the reader hate this. We want to see Maisie grow up into something glorious and befitting of her imagination, something that will break from the social norms. But Olsen doesn't allow us to, as she wants to show the horrors of poverty and the mental toll it leads to. Maisie says she will have that learning someday, but really, what opportunity is there for her? The struggle of freer expression, especially in sexual and political matters, manifests itself in the form of opportunity, a common trope of Yanandio. Opportunity, or freer expression, is taken from another. As aforementioned, Maisie is a child who had her opportunity stripped away from her at birth because she is a female. On the other hand, Andy Kvaternik, another child, has his opportunity taken away from him because he has to replace his dead father as a mine worker. While not much else is known about Andy, we know from Anna and Jim that his father wanted the kid to be different. This line said by Jim reveals that Olsen believes society casts a standard where the father/eldest son must make money. This is also true for the females in the family. Maisie is forced to grow up quicker than her real age. This is a result of the family structure once again, where Maisie is unconsciously taking the role of a second mother in the Holbrook family. Because Andy and Maisie are forced into their roles by the structure of the working class, they lack freer expression in what they want to truly do with their lives. This is all for Olsen to introduce the average working class family wrongly values present wealth over futuristic opportunities. Although both characters are affected by their families in the moment way of thinking, Maisie receives the entire blunt of the blow in the form of struggle of freer expression in sexual matters. Maisie, as a female, if she decides to climb the wall and find opportunity, must also climb the pit that traps her in the role of housewife. This is not to say males aren't affected by gender roles, but to emphasize the prejudice females receive. Andy is trapped because his father died, whereas Maisie is trapped due to her gender. This is subtly mentioned when Maisie asks her mother about education. Her mother replies that an education is what you kids are going to get. Even though Maisie and Anna are speaking directly to each other, Anna generalizes her answer to all her children, who are not in the same room, revealing her lack of faith in Maisie specifically not being able to break the social norms set for women. Even though males and females both face the crippling device that is gender roles, females have it harder because of how society has already generalized females into the housewife category. Loiter's point about the struggle for freer expression certainly applies to Anna and affects her interactions with Maisie. These gender and working categories are a result of the family structure. Maisie and Andy's opportunities of better life are taken away because they have specific roles to fill. These roles are a part of the family structure. For example, when they move to the city, Maisie adapts to the second mom of the family. One example is when the narrator describes Anna's weariness and recites the family's introspective thoughts on Anna. When Maisie's thoughts are listed out, we see that her thoughts focus on the insurmountable work that is overbearing her and the discipline in her response. Yes, Mama, you will recite Maisie. Recite, which is generally used as a practice tool to memorize a line in a play, is used to emphasize how often she has to respond to her mother's orders. In addition to this, the use of a second-person narrator allows Olsen to give an imperative statement, which further insinuates how Maisie is being controlled like a puppet playing housewife. Maisie and Andy's uncontrollable life stem from the structure of the working class since they trapped the two into semi-predetermined roles. Not only do these roles fail the individual miserably, but their philosophies and consequences are also passed down from generation. Trotsky's proletarian literature allows us to spot this, as Anna Holbrook's internal and external conflicts reveal itself after her miscarriage. Consequentially, Olsen also hints at Maisie's internal struggle as a result of Anna's demeanor. Elsa, the neighboring housewife, decides to help the Holbrooks during Anna's sickness. She scolds Maisie and Will at the start of their summer. As the siblings enjoy their vacation, Elsa scolds Will for picking on your sister and Maisie for not looking after Jim and Ben. By comparing these two lines, we understand that Will is in trouble for some wrongdoing. On the other hand, Maisie is being scolded for what she is not doing. Will can enjoy his summer as long as he does no wrong. Maisie cannot enjoy her summer because she must fill the role of little mother. The working class drama allows us to compare and contrast the reality that women must face. Regardless of their own decisions, female children will undoubtedly carry traits of the working class wife if their mother trains them to do so. As a result, Maisie's mental state becomes much weaker throughout the novel, as she evidently does not want to be another housewife. With family structure as a foundation, the reader begins to see retrospectively that when presented with opportunity, it is best to avoid taking such drastic measures. Jim Holbrook is arguably the most heroic character in the novel, despite his alcoholic and abusive tendencies. Jim brings money, but more importantly, hope and opportunity to the family in the form of finding a new life in spring. Yet, in the lens of modernism, we must avoid grand and pompous themes. The consequences of Jim's action drives Maisie's mental state to become weaker and weaker. This is evident in Maisie's terrible laughter, mocking, derisive, not her own, which is directed toward Jim and Anna's hopeful exuberance. This scene, which would normally resonate joy and hope to children as well, avoids doing so in the modern lens, breaking traditional views of the ideas of moving. Maisie's mental state is directly affected by what readers view as the rash and emotional decisions of Jim. Although Maisie absolutely loves life after their move, when the seasons change, tears would be frozen down Maisie's face. With the winter freezing the ability to release powerful negative emotions, we understand that Maisie's internal thoughts are extremely unstable. Once again, Maisie feels the full impact of Jim's decision to move, and through this, Olson wants to warn us to consider our mental and financial health before reorientating the way we live, as we may end off much worse. This idea is further exemplified when Anna forces her to clean their house despite her extremely ill state. She orders Maisie to clean up Jimmy and put clean rompers on him and then get back here, implying that there will be more work. She then finally says, "Go on, I find clean things." Well? The repetition of the word "and" conveys to the reader that the work of the mother is never finished. In addition, the use of ellipses indicate the lack of response illustrated by Maisie. This lack of response indicates Maisie's inner turmoil and how she feels trapped into not giving a response, as giving a response that reflected off her emotions would. Maisie is constantly in a state of mind where the only option she may take is those that her mother, as well as society, have guided for her. Olson does this to relate to mothers who wish for their daughters to be better. She does this to warn women to be cautious of treating their daughters as if they were a little mother, since this attitude not only implements their social norms at an early age, but causes their daughters to continue passing these beliefs on, making it even more difficult to break free from them. After we see Maisie's emotion and mental state continue to being pushed to the brink, it is in the following chapter we see her explode that ties the novel's central message. During the Holbrook family Independence Day celebration, Maisie is sullenly apart on the roof, refusing to touch the fireworks, to be a part of the celebration. Her gloomy mood, contrasting with the patriotism that is July 4th, is reflective of how the American dream can bring false hope and shattered dreams. While the rest of the Holbrooks are celebrating because they believe in the American dream, Maisie questions it as her awareness brings her to understand that what her family seeks isn't as hopeful as they seem. She indicates so when she thinks, now something's bad going to have to happen again. As a result, Olson presents us with a question. Is the American dream as true as propaganda says it to be? She answers this throughout the novel. No. Every time Holbrooks sees the opportunity for a better life, it fails flat. Whether it be the mine, the sewer, the slaughterhouse, each one fails, symbolizing how Jim fails to recognize that trying to break free from poverty ultimately descends us deeper. Unfortunately, this isn't the end for Maisie's character arc, as the gloomy Maisie continues to worsen. She begins to question her mother's thoughts and standards that are imposed upon her. First, she talks back to her mother, asking her, "Haven't I done enough, Ma? Can't I go out to play?" Then when she falls, she blames her mother for tripping, thinking, "I told you I didn't want to have to wear those shoes today, Ma." These quotes reveal Maisie's declining attitudes toward her mother. These attitudes not only stem from her mother constantly forcing her to work for the house, but also previously from when she was imposing good grades upon Maisie. Such attitudes came from the so-called American dream, which Olson shows that mothers are often so blinded by wanting to give their daughters a better life that they ignore the strain that it puts on their daughters mentally. We begin to see these consequences manifesting both mentally and physically. She finds a flyer, and out of confusion and fear, she rips it up. This scene shows her psychological state, as it demonstrates that what she sees in that girl represents what she doesn't want to see in herself. As a result, she lashes out and tears it furiously. They aren't They are even further manifested when she trips shortly once again. This trip skinned her knee and stung and prickled like mosquito bites. Olsen uses the motif of stumbling, as well as the marks in Chapter 8, which manifest her inner emotions outwardly and apparently, in order to tell her audience the negative consequences of containing angrily emotions. By containing our inner emotions, we fail to let others know the rights and wrong of their actions. After all the battles Maisie have with herself, Maisie finally erupts, revealing everything she has felt to her mother in a childlike manner. When Anna orders Maisie for help one last time, Maisie questions why Will always gets to play while Maisie has to help the house. Anna says because Will's a boy, and this is when Maisie erupts and asks, why couldn't I be born a boy? Maisie, extremely tired and angry with the unjust consequences of not her mother, but the social standards of the housekeeping woman in a working-class family surrounding her mother. As a result, she lashes out, but in doing so, her feelings are neglected by Anna, and she dismisses them as just seems like the devil got into her. To the reader, this scene of dismissal is completely outrageous for any parent, but upon closer inspection, Anna sees this as Maisie acting out of stubbornness. As a result, Maisie's true emotions and feelings aren't understood clearly because of her decision to bundle her emotions secretively. This isn't the last time she does it, as within the same conversation she lashes out, this time violently. Why don't I have no place? Not only does this question tackle the psychological distress of which Maisie's character arc follows through due to the expectation of the working class, but it addresses the gap between male and females during the 1930s. Throughout the conclusion of Maisie's character arc, Olsen is able to convey that the psychological damage many children and women faced during the 1930s was due to the expectations and standards that women set on themselves, as well as the rest of the working class society. Mothers aren't asking daughters for help for their daughter's sake, but for their own sakes. The work of a housewife never ends. So naturally, if they split the work between the daughter, it would be over quicker. Even so, dreams and desires of any normal person would naturally increase the amount of work. It is this cycle of unsolvable problem with no real solution that the pessimistic Olsen warns us about in Yonandio. Ultimately, Yonandio is a yellow light in pages, warning those who seek the American dream to tread cautiously.